So today I'm joined by Aaron Moon, a former Royal Marine Commando. He's an amputee, a professional golfer, a hunter, speaker, and founder of Reborn Mindset. Aaron's life was changed forever after being critically injured on an operation in Afghanistan, losing his leg and in his own words, facing something just as difficult, the loss of his identity. Since then, Aaron has rebuilt his life multiple times over, from elite sport and breaking boundaries as an amputee instructor to stepping into the public eye and now taking on an extreme physical and mental challenge in support of Rock to Recovery, a charity that is also close to my heart. This conversation is about resilience, identity, and most importantly, how adversity, when you least expect it, shapes you into a more grounded, purposeful, and heart-led version of yourself. So we've just had a chat and you've been on a lot of podcasts recently. So without using the hour to ask you to tell your story in the amount of detail I've heard you talk about and lots of podcasts now, I think it'd be really good for the listeners to understand a snapshot of the stuff that you've experienced, because it's incredible the amount of times in your story where you're like, wow, the one thing on its own would have just been something like out of this world that you wouldn't expect to bounce back to the level you have, but to keep going through those moments and then keep pushing forward and evolving and using them to become stronger and more resilient each time is phenomenal. So yeah, I'll congratulate you on that first and foremost, and then just ask you in your own words to give us your story, mate.
Yeah, no problem. Probably best place is to go back to 2006, where I joined the Royal Marine Commandos. I went through the 32 weeks worth of training in one go, luckily as an original. Was awarded my Green Beret at the end of my 4 commando tests. Probably one of the proudest moments in my life until I had my little boy. I had a great career in the Marines, absolutely loved it. Deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. I was part of the armoured support group driving the Vikings, the big armoured Viking trucks. And yeah, the Viking I was in, we drove over the top of an IED that was buried under the ground. I was ejected from the vehicle when the bomb went off, found in the hole the IED caused. My body was smashed to bits. They flew me back to the UK. I was back in the UK within 24 hours, died twice on the flight home. Woke up to find the extent of my injuries. I'd smashed my right heel bone to bits, smashed both bones in my lower right leg, dislocated both my knees, broke my femur, broke my hip, dislocated my pelvis, broke my back, ruptured my spleen and broke my collarbone, and I had a little cut on my chin. A year later, they'd operated to try and save my leg. A year later, they turned around and said, look, we've done the best we can. We can't do any more. You either stay as you are, where I was in a wheelchair, I was still on crutches, taking lots of pills to just be able to walk, or you have your leg amputated. So I didn't even think about it. Split second, I was like, let's get the leg off, let's go. So I had my leg amputated in 2010. Medically discharged then from the Royal Marines in December 2011. Became a civvy, didn't know what to do with myself. Everybody talks about being reintegrated into society, but as an adult, I've never been integrated into society anyway, so I don't know how you can reintegrate somebody who'd never been integrated in the first place. But yeah, I had to fight to find my way in the world. I eventually did. I went through a few tough, dark times, but then finally found my place and became a PJ Amputee professional golfer. Did that for 4 years, got some amazing experiences from that. Played in the Scottish Open with Tommy Fleetwood. I've been on Sky Sports at the British Open, been interviewed in the Open Zone. I've travelled the world with it. I had an amazing career, but got to a point where I'd lost my identity again because I weren't enjoying it and I weren't happy, and I knew something needed to change. So I walked away from professional golf. Bounced around a few things again, like close protection work, trying to find my way in the world again, and then became the world's first amputee indoor skydiving instructor. Did that for a year, and then fell off a mountain bike, ripped a muscle off my bone, weren't allowed to instruct anymore because of my injury until I had it fixed. And to this day, I've still never had it fixed because I'm coping with it as it is. And I'd started playing physical disabled rugby league for Wigan Warriors, which is basically it's rugby league, full contact rugby league, but everybody's got a physical disability. And I played my first game in that. And when I dislocated my knee when I got blown up, they managed to save just one of the 4 ligaments in my knee. And then playing rugby league, I managed to rupture that completely as well. So now I had no ligaments in my left knee. Went to the doctors, too young to have a full knee reconstruction. So they basically said, what we can do is give you an ACL. And I was like, well, I've achieved so much up until this point with just a PCL. Give me an ACL, I'm unstoppable. So I had that done. I think it was about 2023. I had that done. And then 2025, January 2025, I was rushed into hospital yet again with a blood clot on my lungs and heart. I went into hospital. Your blood oxygen levels should sit around 95%. Mine had dropped to 60. I got into hospital. The doctors don't know how I was still alive at that point on 60% oxygen. Should have at least given me brain damage of some form. They then invited my family in to come and basically say goodbye because they didn't think I'd see the morning. I did wake up in the morning, spent 5 days in hospital and was discharged on blood thinners, spent 6 months on blood thinners and then got off them as soon as I could. In that space, I was then given the opportunity to go on Channel 4 as one of the hunters on Channel 4's Hunted. Filmed both the civilian and celebrity version last year. And during that time was the time when I decided was the right time to launch my reborn mindset and my next biggest challenge, which is coming in August this year. I am cycling Route 66 in America, Chicago to LA, 2,517 miles in a maximum of 22 days on one leg. I'll be the first amputee to ever do it. And if I do it in 22 days or less, I'll be the fastest recorded time ever done it. The fastest it's been recorded before now was 23 days, but it's not official recording. So, but it's still there. Somebody's done it in 23. So in my head, that's official. So I need to go and beat that. So yeah, it was one of them. I'd almost lost my life yet again. So I didn't want to just sit around moping about it. I wanted to be like, right, well, you've got this beautiful life. I've been given yet again another chance. Let's go make the most of it and push it to its limits. So I think it's been about 2-3 months now. I've had the all clear of having 2 fully functioning lungs. So yeah, it's making the challenge a little bit tougher than what it should be, but it is what it is. We crack on, don't we? So yeah, fingers crossed. And like you say, I'm doing it for 4 amazing charities, all really, really close to my heart. I mean, BLESMA, the British Limbless Ex-Servicemen's Association, obviously being a British limbless ex-serviceman, they've been amazing with me. Team Forces, again, they help with putting expeditions like this on for injured veterans. Rock to Recovery, as you said yourself, like a massively amazing charity. They're probably the best out there. They do what they say. They deal with mental health, which is very close to my heart, having with my business that I run, but also I've lost more friends post-war than I have during the war. I know a lot of lads that I've not lost that are still struggling, and Rock to Recovery are a major part of that. And then Wounded Warrior Project, because obviously I'm cycling through America and we're allies and I want to give back to them as well. And Wounded Warrior do an amazing thing for the US veterans and wounded servicemen. So yeah, it's gonna be amazing. It's been a crazy life.
Mate, that's phenomenal. Thanks for sharing your story with us. It's nothing short of incredible, mate. There's no other word for it. It's to sit in front of the camera today and just be as positive and open as you are. It's amazing.
Thank you, mate.
So
Thank you.
there was one thing you said when you were talking about the challenge, though, and I wanted to ask whether it was an intentional use of the word, but you said if. So do you believe it's an if or is it a when? Are you kind of optimistic? Are you confident you're doing it no matter what? Or are you more kind of a realist about it?
No, the if in my head is if I do it in 22 days or quicker.
Yeah.
There's no if whether I will finish or not.
You're
I am
finishing.
crossing that line.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
how many days I knock off that challenge.
Yeah.
I've said 22 max because in my head I'm going to aim for 2021. I've got my flights booked on my way home, so I want more time in LA to recover before
Yeah.
my flight. So if I can do it a couple of days quicker, then I get a bit longer to
Yeah.
rest.
Do you think you'll get a good gauge for how close you are to reaching it, like about halfway, and you'll know whether it's right to keep pushing yourself that extra bit to try and reach the record, or will there be a point where you're like, well, it doesn't look like I'm going to get that now, so just enjoy it more?
No, I think I've got the route planned out with alternates. So the worst case scenario gets me into LA in 22 days. I have a 20-day plan and I have a 21-day plan.
Mm.
When it comes to the day of setting off in Chicago, I know I'll be in the right place to complete it because I'm putting the hard work in. And that's the big thing, like with everything I've achieved in my past and everything I'm going on to do. Everybody sees that victory, but nobody sees the hard work in the background.
Yeah.
And with this one, I'm really trying to document it. I'm growing the social media side of things to show, like, Instagram's the best, isn't it? But I want to show the rest. So I'm really trying to. But by the time I get on that start line, I know I'll have 20 days in me. Whether
Yeah.
I get to a point where something unforeseen happens, I end up more fatigued than what I expect, and I have to pull it back. My worst case scenario is that 22. So yeah, I'll get the record no matter what. And even crossing the line, I'll be the first amputee to ever do it. So I've got that record no matter what. But yeah, I will. I'll do the 22 minimum, maximum even.
So I had a lady called Paula Ralph on my podcast, and she did Cape to Cape.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and she did it unsupported, and it was a case of like listening to her story again was reminding me of this, and it's those days where you kind of take with you what you need, but it's very much where she was doing it. There was very little in the way of supplies or places to stop in between her like point A to point B. So it was
Yeah.
like, have I got enough to get me from here to here? And anything in between that was unforeseen, it was like she was taking massive risks. And there were plenty of moments during the cycle where it was like, I've messed up here, but she pulled through. That's the thing. And there's something I wrote down which I wanted to ask you what it meant to you, and it's something you said. If you want it, you'll find a way.
Yeah, definitely. That goes probably back to my Royal Marine days. And going through training, and I've said this to so many people since, young lads who ask me about joining the Marines, like what it takes, how fit do I have to be, and all this. And you don't have to be the fittest. You've just got to want it. And if you, I can remember watching a video of Conor McGregor not that long ago, and he'd been in a fight, and the pre-fight press conference, he'd said how he was going to knock him out, and he described why and how it was going to happen, and then the fight happened, and he knocked him out the exact same way that he'd projected. And somebody asked him about it, and he said, if you've got confidence enough, if you believe it enough in here, and you've got the confidence enough to speak it, you'll achieve it. And it's
Mhm.
the same thing. If once you believe and you've got that, and part of my reborn mindset process, like every letter means something, but the final R's reignite your purpose. So as soon as
Yeah,
you've got that purpose, you will go for it. And I'm a big fan of books, and there was one, I forgot the title of it now. A Man's Search for Meaning it is. And he talks about that the person with a strong enough why can overcome any how. And
absolutely.
that's that, like, as long as my why for finishing this bike ride is strong enough, it doesn't matter what go through along the way, I will get to the end because my why is strong enough.
Yeah, I believe you. And I mean, on a much smaller scale, I know everything's perspective and relevant to each person, but during my first and only bigger challenge, if you like, where I completed the trail run marathon for Rock to Recovery in September, I had no right to sign up or complete that challenge because I'm not a runner. I've never been built for any kind of long distance. And even during the training, I didn't run beyond 10 miles. And it's funny because the amount of people that said to me, almost like telling me that I shouldn't do it, or you haven't trained, so therefore don't do it. You're gonna fail. You're not gonna reach your time. And I was my view was that I wasn't doing it for any kind of time, because it's very hard to judge a time on a trail run, because there were so many inclines and trails and single file. But for me, it was, I just wanted to keep running the whole time, because I had that, like, for me, the feeling of just keep on running the whole time, no matter how slow. It's like, that to me is like not giving up. And it's, if you want it, you'll find a way. And I found a way. No matter, and don't get me wrong, the from mile 13 to like mile 21, if you like, I was in an absolute agony, and my knees had got, I just wanted to stop the whole time. And it was, but for me, it's like, it opened my eyes to what the you are capable of doing if your why is strong enough. And for me, it was like Rock to Recovery again. They were the charity that I did the running in support of, and knowing as well that you've taken, like, people have donated out of their pocket and wrote messages of support. I read them whilst I was running, and a couple of them really, really hit me, brought me to tears whilst I'm running. And I just knew there's no way I'm stopping it. Absolutely no way. And then when you cross the line, it's, for anyone that is on the fence about whether or not they should sign up to a challenge, push themselves, do something for charity that means something to them, you cannot ever replace that feeling with anything.
No, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember, like, if I've done a few charity events up until now, this obviously will be the biggest, but I say it to loads of people, like, push yourself to your limits, like, find what you can do. Like, a lot of people have said to me, obviously, when I almost died in the Marines, like, I was only young and stuff, but last year when I had my blood clot, I've got family now, I'm 38 years old, like, life's a lot different, and a lot of people have said to me, like, why don't you just chill out a little bit and settle down a little bit? And I'm like, but why? Like, why would I? Like, I've been given yet again another chance. Like, there's not many people that should be dead 3 times in their life and they're still here, and I am. So why now would I not go and use my body for good and do what and push my limits? And I know when I cross that line in Santa Monica, I'll probably break down. I'll be in bits,
Yeah.
cry, and my body's gonna be in absolute agony. But that agony will last a couple of days, maybe a week. I'll come back home, I'll rest up, and I'll be fine then. But that story's there forever.
Yeah. I
Like,
think as well,
that's something
there's
I'm
an
leaving
acceptance
behind.
of, and I certainly had an acceptance, because I knew when I was engaged in that process of the second half of the run, I knew that damage was being done to my legs and to my knees, but you just accept it, because I thought, well, this is a one-off thing. I'm finishing this. This is like part of my legacy. It's part of what I've said I'm going to do. So for that integrity in myself, get it done, and your body will heal. That's what bodies are for, and it is, the human body is capable of healing, and it's, but if you quit, like, you'll never heal that,
No, that stays there forever.
unless there's like one of those reasons where it's out of your control, and you have to quit because it's the right thing.
Even then, I think it still stays there. I
Yeah,
think it's, even when it's out
that's
of your
just telling us
control,
that
it's,
it's okay if there is a reason, but
yeah,
ultimately, it's like you said, it's, you can adapt.
yeah. Like, quitting's a habit, but not quitting can be a habit as well. Like,
Yeah,
it's up to you which you pick. Like, and I just choose not to quit on anything, like on
yeah,
life. That's why I'm still here after all the crazy things. And you say, like, your body heals itself. Like, I think I'm a testament to that. Like,
yeah,
my body's been in millions of pieces and I'm still here. So why would I not still do stuff to put, like, I've made peace with the bike ride knowing that it's going to hurt. There's nothing I can do about that. Even now, the training, there's days I've had 2 days now off the bike because my stump had swollen up. I've got certain injuries that I can't. It makes more sense to have a day off the bike now than 2 weeks off the bike in a
yeah,
couple of weeks' time
yeah,
because I've wrote myself off. But it's just knowing when I get out there, I can't afford them days off. So I have to push through that pain. But I've made peace with
yeah,
that now. And I can, like, when that comes, I know I've got the mental strength because I've already seen how it's going to go. And
yeah,
I'm a big fan of, like, manifesting and visualization and stuff like that. I'm a
yeah,
huge believer in it. And every night I go to bed and I see that route through my head and me cycling it. And I see me, I've visioned I drove the route in 2013, so I know the route and I know what the finish line looks like because I've been there. But in my head, I've been there more because I've seen myself cycling across that pier to that Route 66 finish line,
Yeah.
people that are cheering me in. And I've played that over and over and over in my head, and I've seen it happening. So I know now full well I will cross that line.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer in manifestation as well, and very much around visualizing something happening to the point where you can already feel that emotion of you crossing the line. The more you can do that, I believe, the better, because you're programming yourself to believe that you are going to do it in the future. It's just closing that spring. It's quantum physics, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm really, really into all that stuff. I've found myself over the Christmas period really getting into like all the Joe Dispenza stuff, and it's all like energy and how we really can program ourselves to believe anything is possible.
Yeah, definitely. There's a film, I don't know if you'll have seen it. It's called The Secret. Not the documentary version. It's like a Hollywood type version. But the guy in that explains like the secret, the manifestation side of things, the best I've ever heard it, but it's the most simple. And he talks to these kids and he shows them a magnet and some metal, and that that magnet attracts that metal to it. But you don't see the force in the middle. You don't see what's happening. You just see it attracting what it wants. So you put that energy out there, you'll attract it to you because you are the magnet. So as long as it's the positive, and we talked before we came on here about the circles that we're turning in at the minute and the people that I'm getting to meet and the conversations I'm getting to have are like-minded people, but that's only because that's what I'm putting out there as well. I'm doing that kind of stuff. I'm wanting to help other people, and I'm finding myself surrounded by people now that are like-minded, that are wanting to help me as well. And that's, again, it's that positive energy you're putting in the world. You're attracting positive people. I think it's a huge thing.
I agree. I've had the honour of sitting down or sitting across a camera from about 50 people now in the last 12 months and hearing so many variations of people that have been through adversity, loss, injury, trauma. It's incredible, but I can always see this common thing that is left behind, and it's hard to even describe what that is, but it definitely, to me, is apparent that what appears at the time to be like hell that you're living in, it's once you can come through it and look back and not hold on to those like emotions of resentment, anger, bitterness, why me, victim mentality. If you can come out of it and go to a different place of acceptance, you've learned the lessons and you're grateful to the experience because it's just your life. It couldn't have been any other way because it wasn't. And that's the destiny that was there for you all along. But it's made you this really grounded person that's really caring for others and empathetic, and you understand what people are going through because you've been through it yourself. And that's your gift then, to give something back to them to say it will pass. And I can see that in yourself massively.
There's I had this kind of thing, like when you're at rock bottom and you're going through hell, you can't, once you're at rock bottom, you can't go any further.
No.
So just keep going through that because you will then come back up. It's inevitable. And I had this analogy that I share in my reborn talks, and it came to me last year when I was in hospital and I was watching the heart rate monitor going up and down like this. And when in life, when your heart beats and it pumps blood around your body and yet you're alive, your heart rate goes up on the screen. When your heart stops pumping and the blood all returns, you drop down the bottom. And then your heart beats again and puts you back up to get that blood around your body. And when the blood around your body, you're alive. But once if your heart stops and doesn't pump again and doesn't send you back up here, you're going to flatline and you're dead. Mm-hmm. And I compare life to the same journey, because there's going to be times when you're up here where you're alive, you're living, you're on top of the world, but then you are going to drop down. But the only way to get back up here, like your heart, is to physically do something. It's not just going to happen to you. You've got to go and make it happen. So like your heart beats to get you back up to the top and get you back alive. You've just got to put that beat in and you will get back to the top. There's no doubt about it. It might not be
Yeah.
quick. It might not be easy. You get irregular heartbeats with people, but they still always come back up here at some point.
Yeah.
And to me, that's life. And that's one of the biggest things I try and get across to people. Like, it doesn't matter how far you drop, as long as you do something. And I had a conversation with my little boy, not last night, the night before. He's only 10, and he was doing his spellings with his mum, and he got one wrong, and he spelt it like 5 times, and it was only on the 6th time he finally got it right, and he started getting really upset with himself and crying. And I came and sat down with him, and I said, "Look, mate, what's wrong?" And he said, "Well, I keep getting it wrong. I've not done it right." And I was like, "But you've got it right there." And he was like, "Yeah, but I had to do it 6 times. If I don't get it right on my test first time," I was like, "But now you're learning. You're not. This isn't your test, is it? You're learning right now." I said, "Did you get the first one wrong?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Did you spell it different on the second time?" I said, "Well," he said, "Yeah." I said, "What about the third time? Was that different to the other two?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "By the 6th time, you finally got it right." And he was like, "Yeah, Daddy." And I was like, "Well, that just shows you've done what you're meant to be doing. You're learning
Problem
right
solving.
now. You're going to make mistakes. That when you finally get tested, you've put the work in to get the mistakes now. That when it counts, you'll get it right." And I said, "Your first one was just a lesson. Your second one." And it's like Edison with the light bulb. The amount of times he tried making the light
Yeah.
bulb, and he didn't fail all them times. He just found all them ways it didn't work. He only needs one to get it right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons in life you can ever give. And I learned so much off watching my little boy go through life, and the things he faces teaches me so much as well.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. You never learn anything as much yourself as watching your kids, like, watch through their eyes.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable, and it's because you want so much for them to do well. So it's nothing quite like it.
no, not at all. Like I've said it all along in quite a few podcasts and interviews and stuff. And when people ask me why I do what I do, it's because I've got them 2 little eyes looking up at me,
Yeah.
and you can set a better example by doing rather than teaching. And I don't want it. I don't care if he's like me or not. I don't care what he does when he's older, as long as he's the best him he wants to be. Like, he can watch his dad go out and do all these crazy things and push my body to its limits, to see, like, when you want something, you go for it.
Mm.
And whatever he wants to do, I don't care if he wants to be a Royal Marine or not. I'll be proud of him, whatever he does, as long as he goes after his dreams.
Yeah. No, I agree. And there's moments where, like, say, for example, just with the podcast, where I think this is so much of a drain on my energy and time. And I've tricked myself into thinking that the success isn't there. It's quite clear I probably won't ever make money from it. And for me, I think, oh, well, why am I bothering? But then I know there's something far bigger than that, which for me, when I can remember that, it's all good, because I know them. And it's clear when I get the messages from people that I've helped through like, equally through the guests that I've had on, through the messages that I'll put out on social media, messages of people saying that it's helped them. But also for me, it is with my kids, with them seeing that I'm following through and carrying on with something that means a lot to me and not giving up. And it's been a massive thing for me all the way through this. And it's also that thing of them knowing that it's because they know, your kids know you better than anyone, don't they? And they know public speaking and putting yourself out there as an extrovert, like, that's not me. So for them to see me doing something that is clearly so far outside of my comfort zone, but I'm doing it because I believe in it, again, I feel like I'm helping to mold them and shape them into people that I think it's important to stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing as well. I compare my life to a book, and
Yeah.
I'm leaving this story behind for him. And that's another thing where you don't quit and you don't give up, because every time you get to an end of a chapter, be it getting blown up and being discharged from the Marines, be it walking away from professional sport or my blood clot or whatever, every time something's happened in my life, it's not the end of my book, it's just the end of a chapter.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
I want to leave that book when I'm on my deathbed and I'm going to that other place. I want my little boy to pick that book up and go,
Mm.
that's my dad. That's what he did. He didn't let one thing stop him. Look how many chapters he wrote, and that's it. Like, it'd be a pretty boring story if you picked a book up and it only had one chapter in it, wouldn't it?
Right
So,
through. Yeah.
like,
But I feel
whatever
like
you go
people,
through,
some people, and it's through no fault of their own, if, say, people that on the face of it might have an easy run and not face adversity, so therefore stay in the same job for 30 years or stay in something that's comfortable because they haven't had that moment which has made it so uncomfortable they've had to change. Like, looking back, those things in a lot of ways are actually blessings in disguise, aren't they?
yeah, massively.
It's yeah. And do you feel, are there any moments that really stand out of being like scary when you're in that transition of an identity change of, I really don't want to lose that identity, because at the time it was just felt like that was who you were meant to be.
Yeah, probably going back to the Royal Marines again.
Yeah.
That was that, like, and I say this all the time, like, losing a leg weren't that big a deal, but losing my career was. There's articles of me in the newspapers back home and TV interviews that I did after getting blown up saying, I want to go back to the front line. I want to go and fight again. And I want to be out there with the lads. I'm still a Royal Marine. I'm still going to be a Royal Marine. And the day I got that letter through the door that says you're no longer medically fit to be a Royal Marine Commando, that hit me harder than any injury or the explosion ever could. I joined when I signed up at 17, started training at 18. It's all unknown. And yeah, to then be just let go and become a civilian. But I'm not just a civilian now. I'm a civilian with one leg. I'm a civilian with one leg and loads of other injuries. And I didn't know what to do. I'm not really. I never thought of anything outside of the Marines as an adult. Like, that was going to be my
Yeah.
career. I ended up in pub drinking all the time. I was waiting for the pub to open. I find myself getting in trouble at weekends, and I was just lost. And on the outside, though, everybody looked at me, and I was still that happy-go-lucky lad,
Yeah.
like, bouncing around, thinking like, oh, he's handling it, he's coping with it. But inside, like, I go home at night and I'd be on my own, and I'd be like, do you know what? This is what am I doing? And that's kind of where Reborn Mindset was born, because every letter means something, and it's like I class them as the 6 pillars of the Reborn Mindset, and how I, every time I've gone through any challenge in life, be it as big as getting discharged and blown up, or as small as just walking away from pro golf, like, that was still a tough day. I was playing professional sports, I had sponsors, I was doing well for myself, and I had to make that decision where, do you know what, I'm not happy anymore and walk away. So that was still tough.
Yeah.
But I use the pillars every time. So you've got to recognize your reality. You can't go along this journey without visiting each step first. So you recognize your reality, you then embrace change, you build resilience by going through the change, own your mindset, reignite your purpose, and never quit. And every time, like, even when you say there's people
Love
that
that,
haven't
man.
faced adversity and they do something they're comfortable with, they might be comfortable, but it doesn't mean they're happy. So that's where you might not go through this big tragic event, but you're not where you want to be or who you want to be, and you're losing your identity by just being stuck in the same 9 to 5 job just because it's comfortable and easy. That's where you need to recognize your reality, and what I call the mirror talk is sit down in the mirror and have that honest conversation with yourself. Because, like myself, I was lying to the world. I had that smiley face on myself when I first come out, and everybody thought I was doing really well. I was going home. I was a bit like, but I weren't willing to acknowledge that myself and recognize my own reality. That, do you know what, you're going down a really bad path here, and this isn't the person you need to be. You're not doing what you should be doing. And I had to sit down and have that honest conversation with myself, and then be like, and then you move on from there. Once you've had that conversation, you can be like, right, now we need to embrace change. We need to make something happen. It's
Is there
not
a
going to
clear
be
moment you can
comfortable.
remember at that point where you're like, enough's enough? I've had my period of self-sabotage almost, and you realise
Yes.
you were meant for more. Was there a moment?
Yeah. Like, without getting too soppy, it's a moment slash a person.
Okay.
Um, I was out in the pub one night, like I was most nights. I'd just met my missus not that long before, and we'd been dating for a while. And she was meant to go out with the girls. They cancelled on her for some reason, some childcare problems. So I said to us, "Come and join me and the lads." And the lads were always getting in trouble at weekends and stuff. And we sat in the pub, and somebody got into a bit of a fight outside. So somebody come running in saying, "Aaron, there's something going on. Can you come and help him?" So I went outside, and I just watched her leave out the corner of my eye, and I was like, I just walked away from what was happening and chased after her, and I was like, "Where you going?" She's like, "I'm not about that kind of life. That doesn't interest me." And I was like, right, and got in the taxi with her there and then drove away. And that was the moment where I went home that night, like took her home, went back to my own house and sat down with myself and was like, "Look, you've got this potential amazing future here with this amazing person. Like, you need to sort yourself out." And that's where I had that moment where I recognize, and
Yeah.
I've said it a few times. I'd never say she saved me, but she made me want to save myself.
Yeah.
And that was where I got to that point where I was like, you've got this potential of a great life with this great person. Why ruin it with something that you're obviously not happy with? Like, I weren't enjoying my life. I weren't in a good place. And at that point, I was like, right, we need to start making little changes. So I started getting back into the gym, just little bits, working on myself in a good way. And then trying to go, like anybody who starts a fitness journey, you build resilience quite quickly because you drop. But it was then, right, this is who we are, this is what we do. We've been broken before, we've been knocked down before. How do we rebuild, make little changes, find where we want to be? And then obviously I got into golf, threw myself into that and became professional, got my handicap down to scratch and went and did the PGA degree. And that was just purely from embrace. And that anybody who's played golf can tell you, you build resilience quickly playing that sport. It's so easy to mess that game up, and it's a very big. You need the mindset for that game because it is very mentally
In what
draining
way? Is
sport.
it the ability to reset after it's not going well for you on the next hole?
Well, it's not even the next hole; it's the next shot. If you hit a shot into the
Sure.
trees, you need to get there and not start chasing that. Like the amount of times when I first started out, I'd hit a bad shot and I'd be like, right, this one's got to be amazing. Now I've got to hit the green instead of just taking my medicine and chipping out onto the fairway. Drop one shot, I then smash it into a tree. It then goes
Yeah.
worse and gets worse, and that's life. If you start chasing it too much, it compounds and compounds and compounds and gets drastically worse. Whereas
Yeah.
if you just sit back and go, right, we're in a bad place. Let's recognize your reality. Right, what do I need to do to get better here? Do I take this big risky shot on where I'm going to possibly
Yeah.
end up in a lot worse place, or do I just take a small shot on where, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not going to get any closer or be any better off, but from that shot, then I will be. And that's where the mindset really plays in that sport, because
Yeah.
if once you start hitting a couple of bad shots in a row, it can quite drastically drop. So yeah, I think that's where that came, and then obviously I've just bounced from there to that, from that, and every time I've had to reset, I've used the 6 pillars and rebuilt and rebuilt and rebuilt. But yeah, that epiphany moment probably was that night where I
Yeah.
realised the route my life was heading down, and I didn't want it to anymore. And yeah, and touch wood, we're still happily married now, and we've got a 10-year-old son, and I'm now, I like to think, killing it and going on to amazing things.
Absolutely. Do you think in that moment you saw yourself through her eyes and you didn't like what you saw?
Yeah, a little bit. To be fair, I saw myself through my own eyes and still didn't like what I saw.
Yeah. You knew
I
there
think
was
up until that point,
more.
yeah, I've been wearing them rose tinted glasses, and
Yeah.
because I've lost the identity as a Royal Marine, I kind of came back to that. Like, wait a minute, you've been a Royal Marine Commando. You're one of the most elite fighting men in the world. Like, what are you doing? Why are you here? Like, build yourself back up, get back to that Royal Marine mindset state, and let's go. Let's get back to that. You've not lost it; it's still in you. And that's where things changed after I had that mirror talk where I sat down with myself and just had that deep conversation. Because it's all right lying to everybody else, you just
Yeah.
can't lie to yourself. Like, you've got
Right.
to have that honest. And the second you start lying to yourself, you're gonna lie to everybody else and put that brave face on, and
Yeah.
nobody can help you either. Then, but everything starts with having that internal conversation, and and looking and recognizing your reality of where you are and where you want to be, and then working towards it.
I think in those circumstances, the hardest thing is those following steps, like just those initial steps once you've made that decision, because the tempting decision is to walk back into the pub and have a pint,
Yeah.
because that's like what you know at that point. The hard decision is to not go back into the pub, is to go home, clean yourself up a bit, leave the beer for a few days, and start getting yourself out and about, and maybe out in nature and things that you haven't tried before. For me, that's been the key to getting to where I am now, is by constantly trying new things. And it's that thing of, if it hasn't been working for me up until this point, then why would I continue to do it? Very much like your lad there, with trying different solutions until he got the answer. And it's until you've eliminated all those things that are very, very easy to do, like don't go to the pub, go for a walk instead. It seems far, far more complicated than it actually is in reality. And I know that getting outside in nature is something that's important to yourself as well. I think on one of your Instagram posts, you put, if in doubt, something like that, then just spending time with loved ones out in nature. Is that something that is something you enjoy now?
Yeah, I love it. I love being up in the mountains, like the Lake District's only 30 minutes from my house, and
Oh wow!
it's my favourite place in the world. Again, this Saturday we'll be up in the lakes climbing a mountain or on some big hike, some form, with my wife and my little boy, and playing with some new toys. I bought myself a new drone the other day just to
Oh nice.
play with while we're up there, and yeah, it's just being out, and you find the conversations you have when you're out there as well. When you're out, like
When you're
even
side
in the
by side.
evenings, yeah, go for a walk in the evening with your family after tea, like just a nice little half-hour bimble. The conversations you find yourselves having, and you start planning life together and talking about each other's dream, and like that's a big thing. Like my journey, the Route 66, it's me on the bike, but the amount of people that I've got around me that wouldn't be happening without my wife and child, in especially the fact that I come home and I'm like, yeah, next year, babe, I'm going to go and disappear across America for a month, and I'm going setting these world records. And never once has she turned around and went, do you know what? No. The first thing she ever says to me is, what do we need to do then? Like, and it's that support, but it's supporting each other's dreams, but you've got to know your own dreams first. Like she can't support me with my dreams unless I know what I wanna do first, and vice versa. Like everything she does, I'm 100% behind her, and I'll support her any way we can. It's that network that you get, but them times out in nature and just getting out together builds strength. It builds resilience and helps you focus on what you want to do and where you want to be. I'm a massive advocate for it. Like, just you can't beat it. Like, there's no better feeling, and you tend to find as well, like the rest of your life follows. So, like, the more when you start training, like with the bike ride. Now, I'm off booze completely at the minute because I'm cycling at the end of the year. But then I
Yeah,
want to eat better. I want to do more. I want to be out more. I want to keep moving more because you've started that journey. It then snowballs. It's the same as the other way. When you start spiraling down, it builds quite quickly. Momentum's the same, the
absolutely.
opposite way. Once you start doing little steps, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And before long, one thing has a knock on effect to the next, and you still just want to keep doing better and better in yourself.
Completely agree. I'll take last week, for example. I had a trapped nerve in my neck. Really, it was really getting me down. I couldn't sleep barely. I couldn't do any exercise whatsoever. So therefore, the temptation to spend a bit more time scrolling on my phone, to eat a bit of chocolate in the evening, to not go out for my walks like I normally would, not go down and jump in the sea, all pivoted just from feeling sorry for myself. And it was a bad week. Really, really, it's just spirals, completely spirals. But then this week, I'm like, well, my shoulder's not 100%, but I'm going to go back to the gym. And one of my mates was like, well, what if your shoulder gets injured? And I said, I'll take the risk because of the benefits I know I'll get in my head. And I've just gone back and I've just been training light. But as a result, I then jumped on Instagram a couple of days ago and started messaging people to try and organise a couple of podcasts, which I haven't done for a few weeks, just because I haven't been in the right kind of headspace to sit down and have a conversation and know that it's gonna go the way I know that I want them to be. It's only because I've, again, like you said, I had a little word with myself and said, this can't go on. Do something about it. Go back to how you know you're going to thrive, getting out for walks in nature, eating clean, back in the gym. All of a sudden my sleep's good again. And here we are. It's the spiral of up and down is we're in control of it, no
I
matter
think you
what's
said
going on.
you said something then though, Ollie, about what your friend said to you about what if you get injured. And this is a big thing for me is, what if I don't?
Yeah.
There's two ways you can look at that conversation. And I have a thing in my talks when I go into businesses, prisons, wherever I speak, and it's called the adversity equation, and it's adversity plus response equals outcome. And the
Yeah,
only
I like
thing
that.
in that whole equation that you can control is the response.
Mhm.
So if adversity is just a thing that happens to you, if you then have a negative response, that adversity then becomes negative. If you have a bit of adversity, like my little boy with his spellings, can't get it right. If his response is, right, let's do better, his outcome then, he finally got it right and he's better. It's the same with life, and that's just a very simple version of it. But
Like it.
like, what if this goes wrong? What if change that to what if it goes right? There's two ways to look at everything. And if you're always on that negative, that's your negative response, which then gives you that. If you'd said, oh, well, what if I get my shoulder hurt? Well, you won't go to the gym. And then that
Right.
whole thing that you've just said that spiraled from that to put you in a better place would never have happened. So your outcome would have ended up negative.
Yeah.
Whereas you still have the same adversity of what if my shoulder could get hurt? What if it couldn't? So my response is, well, we'll go to the gym and we'll try it. We'll just be
Yeah.
sensible. We'll train a bit lighter, or maybe not train upper body, train legs for a little bit,
Yeah.
give that a bit more day to heal. But you've still got back in doing it and you've had a positive response, or you've ended up with a positive outcome. And I think
We
that's
don't
a
know as
big
well
thing.
is how significant those little decisions are, because something as insignificant in my head as going to the gym on Monday and training could have then meant that I have a conversation with you, which then means I put a post out, which then means somebody else reaches out and then they come on my podcast, and then they're friends with someone that owns a brand that likes it, and then I get sponsorship, and then do you know what I mean? It all pivots from those. The amount of times you can use any adversity or any decision and switch it into a positive, you don't know how significant those moments are for like the greater good of where you're heading.
It's like the butterfly effect, isn't it?
Yeah. But you only see that from the way that we've both used those moments so many times to move forward to the point where we're sat here now and reflecting on different things and different mindsets. But yes, I love your coaching model, by the way. And for me, anyone that is coaching something that they've got such a great level of understanding because they've been through it themselves, for me, you can't beat that. That for me,
Yeah.
compared to someone that's been to university, learnt a coaching model, done a course, learnt a coaching model, but it's coaching something that they've not been through themselves. For me, I can see the difference straight away. And there's something that we spoke about before we came on, and it's the reason why you don't feel like you feel like you're an imposter in this circle of people you're in contact with at the moment, is because of that humility. And I think that what happens when you go through those really hard times, like yourself, is that you're grateful just to have the opportunity to do something positive moving forward. So you don't look back and feel sorry for yourself. It's like, no, I'm just grateful, and then that creates the humility,
Yeah.
which you've got an abundance of, mate. And it's beautiful to see, to be honest. And I wish you all the best with the coaching. I think you're onto an
I
absolute winner
appreciate
there.
that.
Yeah,
I think that's the key. Like I said to you before we came on, I've had this on paper for years, but I've only brought it out like the last year purely for the fact that I wanted to live it myself, and I have done over and over and over again now. If I'd
yeah,
just been through one thing and then brought it out, it has substance, but I now have a massive timeline of my life with loads of different achievements and tragedies. that this is now coming from so much lived experience. And I like to think through everything I've been through, I've probably been through more in my life than most people go, like 90% of the world probably ever go through.
Yeah.
But every time I've come back stronger, and I'm
I had a
still here and I'm still going, and it's not going to stop here. Like
no.
the rest of my life, my goal now is to dedicate the rest of my life to bringing this to the world and try and help other people that are going through bad times or struggling with anything. My goal's to keep doing these crazy challenges and raise as much money for charities as I can, but using the stories along the way to show people that you're only limited by your own belief.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I had a question for you. It was, I think you said it on the podcast when you're talking about when you went and had therapy, and it's the terminology of someone that's not been in a war zone saying to you that they understand how you feel. I could tell that's something that really that's quite deep inside you. And for me, I'm always very mindful as well with the military lads that I have on the podcast that I don't use that language, even with some of the similarities that might be there from the pressures of the day job that I have. I still haven't been in a war zone. I've not experienced the trauma on the level that you would have done, and the fear maybe that's there underlying, whether it's at the surface or not, especially for some of the more like lads are a little bit older, maybe they've got families and stuff that have got, and I heard you speak about it when you're in a war zone and it's just you. That's a bit easier to probably navigate than someone that's got loads to lose at home. But yeah, I wanted to ask you how that makes you feel really when someone says, I know how you feel. It might be tongue in cheek, they might not mean anything by it, but it's yeah, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, that was going back to when I was at Headley Court doing my rehab, and I had some young lad he'd not long since passed out of uni, trying to tell me that like I've not long since been blown up, and he's telling me he knows how I feel, but he's learned that and there was no disrespect to him because that's what he's learned in the textbooks, to the way he should deal with people and the way he should speak to people. But like, how can you know how I feel? Like you couldn't. And at the time I was quite bitter about it, but now looking back, I'm more open. I
Yeah.
understand. Like I've learned a lot in life, and I keep learning. And I do genuinely believe there's a place for therapy in the world. The whole notion of just man up, it's bizarre. Like don't just matter if you need help, reach out. But personally, like people come different backgrounds. People want that somebody they've never met, somebody that might not have been through what they've been through, that will just sit there and listen. Whereas my mentality is more like I want to find somebody who does understand, that's been there, that has come through it, and I'll learn from them because they've done it. Like that's why I bring my story to the world now, and why I'm an open book. I literally, like yourself when you asked, every podcast I go on, people ask, "Is there anything I can't talk about? Is there anything we can?" I'm an open book. I will speak openly about every aspect of my life, from the highs, the lows, everything, because the only way I can help other people is by being open and honest and having them, like, the recognized reality. I've had to have them honest conversations myself. So I should show the world that. And then if I'm preaching that you should have that conversation, I should be willing to share mine. And that's a big key for me, like showing
But it
that I've
comes
been
across
through
because
everything.
there's no hesitation in your answers. There's no looking how can I say this? How like what shall I say here to sound a certain way? It just comes out. It's like free, just flows freely. And I think you're destined to be speaking on stages, telling your story. It's so powerful, mate, and it's so needed as well. I think. Well, I know
No, I appreciate
that
that.
there's so many people out there that need to hear your message because they are struggling, especially the veterans, like you said. And it was interesting to hear you talk about the veterans that are in prison, and it's yeah, I think there's so much value in your message, your story in those environments, which you know that because that's something you're already involved in. And how does that make you feel that you might be able to change the mindset and life of someone that's at rock bottom, veteran in prison or on the streets?
It's kind of that's it's exciting to me because that's kind of why I'm doing it now. Like in the past, like the golf, when I first got into that was more for my own benefit, to to push myself to something I wanted to do and get to where I wanted to be. If I could inspire people along the way, that was an added bonus. But when I first started out on my journey, that it was more to sort my own life out. Whereas now the things I'm doing now, I've done enough for me. I've achieved enough for me in the past. And now, like, even with this bike ride, you shout about it being world records, and you've got to put that out there for sponsorship and stuff from corporates to get where you want to be. But I couldn't care less whether I get a world record or not. I'll do it in the time because it'll be impressive, but the records don't mean that much. It means more to me to show myself again after almost dying last year with a problem in my lungs. This is a big test of my lung capacity now. So I'm showing myself what I can do and pushing myself to my limits again. But my main goal with everything I do going forward in life is provide a good life for my family and show my little boy what's right and what's wrong, but also to help as many people as I can with my story. I've been blown up now. I've been through all these different things. I may as well put use to them and make them worthwhile, give them purpose. And the best way to do that is by going helping others, and seeing if I can speak to on stage and speak to hundreds of people. If one person will leave that room that day, feeling better or with a plan, or can reach out to me and say, Aaron, I've been in your talk. I heard you talk about the reborn mindset. Can you teach me more? I'm in a position I need to. And I say now, like, I've got my Route 66 ride next year. Nobody has to go and do stupid things like that. Like, everybody's got their own Route 66 in their life going on right now. Everybody has their own reborn day, whether it's from something massively tragic or whether it's just, you could just be going through a tough time. You could be not happy at work. It could be anything. You just need to hear that story and be like, do you know what? I can be reborn right now. I can go through them pillars. I can work through that program. I can change my life right now. I'm at that point. Or they might have been through a load and they need it now. Or they might have been there and gone through it and come out the other side and being successful. But they're like, do you know what? I need reminding of that on every now and then. So my whole purpose in life, coming back to the reignite purpose, is to try and make a difference in the world the best I can. And that's just one step at a time at the minute. Grow my business, grow my name up, grow my bike ride, get out there to the world, and the more people that can see it, the better in my eyes.
Well, for what it's worth, with the platform I've got, I'll do everything I can to support you with that, mate, 100%, because there's levels to what people go through, and when I hear people speak, I like to think I'm a reasonable judge of character, and I fully understand your mission, and I wholeheartedly support it, and I'll do everything I can to support you in any way I can by sharing and supporting you moving forward. Any contacts that I have that I feel might be suited to supporting you as well, I'll do everything I can to support you in that way as well, brother.
Really appreciate that, mate.
Yeah, mate, it's been amazing chatting to you today. I
No,
wanted
I've
to
really
finish off
enjoyed it.
by asking you, if somebody was at rock bottom now and they represent where you were before you had that epiphany, and they've heard what you've said, but their response is, I don't believe you, I'm not going to be able to do that, I'm not worthwhile trying, what would you say to those people?
Again, I'd say don't always get in your own way. There's I say it to the prisoners all the time. No one's coming to save you. It's on you. You've got to recognize your reality. You've got to embrace change. You've got to build your own resilience. It's your mindset. You've got to find your purpose. And then once you've got all that, just don't quit. But everybody's worth a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. I've had more chances in this life than we know. 3 times now I should be dead and I'm not. Just keep going. It's just one more day. And I said to my little boy asked me once, and like I say, he's taught me so many lessons. He asked me about the Route 66, and he said, are you not scared? Because it's 2,517 miles. And I was like, but it's not. And he's like, what do you mean it's not? And I was like, it's only 1 mile, mate. And he's like, it's not. It's a long way from Chicago to LA. And I was like, but it's not, is it, mate? If I get 1 mile done, I then worry about the next mile and then the next mile. And before I know it, I've got a day done. And it's no longer 2,517 miles. It's just worry about that next mile. That next little decision, get that done. I ain't going to do the bike ride in one go. So Just worry about the mile ahead of me. I can't worry about anything past that. What's the point? What's the point in looking at the finish line when I've only just started? Like, just focus on that next mile, get it out of the way, and before you know it, you've done 10 by just looking at 1 mile. And that
That's a
anybody
hell of
who's
a
at the
mindset.
lowest of the low at the minute, break it down. Look at that next little step. Find that one little mile in your life and focus on that. And once you've got through that mile, find the next mile
Yeah.
and just break it down into small, little, manageable steps, and you'll be at the top of the ladder before you know it.
Mm. I think as well, when some people might be in an environment where it's very, very challenging to, whether it's financially or because they're not able to provide for others, and then they're just not in the ideal situation or environment. If that's the case, then we've still got the ability to use our mind and keep our mind positive. And if we can't do something physically or productively, then we can always learn something. Is how I feel on the days where I'm like not feeling like, right, I'm going to go out and do something productive. Well, I might listen to an educational podcast, for example, or pick up a book, or call someone that I feel might be able to teach me something. And it all comes together. Everything we do, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, it all comes together. And you never know when something, for me, when I'm learning and these conversations, I take so much value from them. And there'll be something that you've said today that will be part of how I move forward after this conversation. So, yeah, mate, I think
When you
that's a
say that,
brilliant
though,
answer.
when you say that about people who might not be in the place to change or provide or whatever, they might not be, but that's where I say make that one little step towards it. Sit down
Yeah,
and break it down and go, right, well, I'm not where I need to be, but how do I get there? What's the first little thing I need to do? And that was the same as me when I realized back in the day that I was heading down the wrong path. I didn't just change overnight. I had to make little changes. And the first thing I did was sign up to a gym and
yeah,
go and get fit. But you don't have to be a member of a gym to get fit. Just exercise. Just do little micro things every day. But find out where you are at now. Right, I can't provide right now, but what do I need to do to be able to? Right,
I
let's
love
work
that.
towards that
And what
every
was
day. Just tick something up.
the other thing I heard on a podcast the other day? It's like the precursors to the thing. So if joining a gym involves buying a pair of shorts and you haven't got a pair of shorts, then it's the first thing you can do is buy a pair of shorts. It's not going to the gym. It's what's the first step, whether that's researching a pair of shorts. It's like you're there. The momentum's already
Yeah.
started without you realizing. And these things that we feel are holding us back because we haven't got the right equipment, we don't know how to, we haven't got the right contacts or network. Make those things happen first. And then before you know it, you're there. You've walked into the gym with the new pair of trainers on, and it's all because you've been proactive in what you're doing and not treating things as barriers. And quite often as well, I feel like as much as we might not be in a position to do something new to add to what we're hoping to achieve, it's what can we remove? Because it's by creating more capacity, then you're creating that space for something new at the same time. Again, is something I feel is so important, especially when you're looking at doing a big challenge. There's got to be a point where there's a sacrifice and a give somewhere else. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like changing your room, isn't it? Like if you're in the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, kind of thing. It's the
absolutely.
same. It's the same thing with, and I do it with the prisoners. I have a task called the ladder task, and basically I get them to draw a ladder on a piece of paper, and they put a goal that they want to achieve, where they want to be at the top, and then every step on the ladder. If you look like your ladder's like that, like a bit of a pyramid, you big steps at the bottom, but that's your easiest task, that big step. And you put just a little task that you could do on like tomorrow when you wake up. What could I do that's easy that I could do towards that? And then your next step's a bit smaller, but it's a bit tougher, maybe a week's time. And then
Yeah,
each step gets tougher and harder till you get to that goal. And it's the same thing, like you say, with the gym. You buy the shorts. Next day, what do I need to do? Well, I can't get in the gym yet, but I want to start increasing my cardio. So I'll walk towards a gym. I might walk to a couple of gyms and find out prices, or I might just go for a walk around my block and do a few press ups, because then when I get in the gym, I'll be able to do bench press a bit better because I've already started working on my chest. And it's just them little goals that compound to get to that final step.
love it.
But again, like, change your environment. That's a big thing. You want to get fit, you want to get healthy, surround yourself with fit and healthy people.
Yeah. And to finish it off, I'll go back to the first comment I read to you at the start. If you want it bad enough and it's what you really want, then you will find a way.
You'll always find a way.
Love it. Mate, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, no, and best of luck with your training for the challenge. I'll be supporting you all the way.
Thank you very much, mate.